Well, hello, and welcome to Opal City Confidential, a Starman podcast, episode 57. Goodbye, Roger. Hello, Len. Well, that's not the name of the episode, but that's kind of what's going on. This is the first two issues with the new creative team. Dave Hoover we have already met because he drew the last couple issues, but we have a new writer, and we're going to be covering Starman Volume 1's 29 and 30, the first two issues of their partnership on this book. Let me give you the basic information on Len Strazewski. Pronouncing that right. I even pulled it up on the pronunciation. It's a comic art. I'm kind of familiar with him. I've never read any of this, as I've not been reading this, but I've read some of his Flash. I've definitely run his Justice Society, which I liked a great deal. Phantom Lady, which I don't think I've read that series, a miniseries, and I did read his Fly when they brought back the Crusaders, the Archie brand superheroes, and I've read that. And he's done some for now. He's done Speed Racer. He's done Street Fighter. He wrote Prime and 11 and Prototype. Those okay. All the things I've read. I've liked what I've read of his. And let's go forward with that. So let's talk about the first issue, which is issue 28. I'm sorry, 29, Ross. 29. It's right in your hand. Get this right. So issue 29 was cover dated December 1990. It was executive editor Dick Giordano, cover artist Dave Hoover. It's got a decent cover. It is Starman inside this red globulous thing. We'll get to more to that when I go over the comic with you. The creative team was Len Strazewski, Grant Meehan, Scott Hanna. Grant Meehan was penciler. Tom McCraw, colorist. Bob Benhay, letterer. Katie Main was the editor. The synopsis is, there's not a synopsis in the wiki, so I'm just going to have to do it as we go along. There are some little bits of trivia. Harold Melrose is in this issue, and it is his last appearance. So I guess they're clearing their plate of any old bad guys. Carol Simon is the only regular who's in it, and it's the introduction of a new villain called Plasmax. Let's talk about Plasmax. We will. I want to say, one, I like the Grant Meehan art a great deal. I find it a lot better than last issue's David Hoover, and I do, to be honest, to jump ahead a little bit, I think it's better art than the next issue. But it's good. I've always liked Grant Meehan. But it starts with the bad guys from that were using Mannheim, the two shady guys from the issue before, and they find a mad scientist who's been working on people with them. They go into the shack, and it's really a secret super science lab. It's very funny. And they inject the guy, and he just, he starts stretching around, and he turns into basically, Mr. Bobby or Globby in England, this guy in a blow-up, weird, creepy suit. That's what he looks like. And the professor, of course the bad guy's a professor. They just call him, do they give him a name? Unnamed scientist. No, they do not give him a name. But he injects this guy, and he becomes this floating plasma, like chemo kind of guy. And his explanation is, the two bad guys are going, this guy is more loopy than Melrose, and we still haven't dealt with him yet. Yeah, that's the point, pal. This guy's going to take care of Melrose for us, and maybe Starman, too. Hey, Professor, what about that programming gimmick you mentioned yesterday? Oh, yes, that's all been taken care of. And then Plasmax goes, ooh, good. And then Plasmax starts breaking through his binds, and the mad scientist saying, I've implanted the Melrose person's identification into Plasmax memory. He will seek them out. You gave him the address too? Oh, yes, the address too. I've done it as I've created the ultimate assassin. Yeah, right, the easy-baked doughboy. Shh. Right, Right, yes, right, Professor. A masterwork? How about the funds you promised me for my research? Of course, Professor. In gold and as you ask. We'll get it from the car. And they walk outside, they press a button, and the lab blows up and they drive off. And then we cut to Will trying to get his job back, trying to mend fences with Simon, and I get it. So they have a nice conversation. It's really pretty art. I really like this art. I just really, really do. She gives him a folder, and he goes out to look, and then he notices a cop and a cabbie looking up in the air. There's a plasma burst. It blows up something at the top of a building, and he looks up, and it's plasmic, and as Starman replies, "That's no blimp, it's some kind of balloon creature thing." Balloon creature thing. Thank God you're not naming the bad guys there, Will. He runs into Perro's restaurant and comes out of the men's room. Oh, he runs through it. He goes to the alley. He forgot this. He throws his clothes in the trash can, and his thoughts are, those clothes are going to smell tomorrow. And he follows Plasmax. He goes by a work site that causes some trouble. Melrose is hiding in a small seedy hotel that's just basically a bed, a TV built into the wall, and a bathroom. And he sees what's happening, and he's thinking, just a couple more days, and my brother-in-law will send enough cash to get me out of the country. None too soon. I'm sick of watching TV. And then the TV's going, I lost 20 pounds this week in the new ultra skinny diet shakes. And then we hear Plasmic, hey you, Melrose. Oh. And he's outside the window and he tries to grab him. Melrose hides in the bathroom. Starman comes and they have a little fight. And Plasmax is he's not the best villain I've ever seen. He can expand his shape. He swallows Starman. And Starman starts to panic. I feel dizzy, can't breathe. And he said, wait a minute, I don't need to breathe. These plasma charges are scrambling my brain and my powers real good. Maybe I can burn my way out. So he increases his heat, and he flies out of Plasmic's mouth. We see Melrose running down the street, and he is gunned down by the two bad guys that hired the professor to create Plasmax. And Starman just goes after Plasmax, and the rest of the issue is kind of him and them having a battle. He pops his button, and he flows away like a pop balloon. And then there's all this trouble. There's all this destruction. There's a little comedic thing with this cop. And that makes Will remember the folder he's given by Carol to do a coffee ad for this brand, and he uses the taxi driver who was watching, the construction worker that almost died, and the cop he was chatting to throughout the story. These three people that were just secondary people, and it's a great commercial. Carol's like, well, I almost hate to say it, but when you want to, you still got the touch. And she goes, I'd like the new product name, Wake Up and Smell the Coffee. It's simple, it's direct, the spot characters are believable, and they're not actors at all, are they? I didn't see fees in the budget. Nope, real people doing what they do. A friend of mine suggested they volunteer their service exchange for some free sample. A friend, huh? We used to be friends before you burned me big time. Yeah, you're right. I let you down. I was confused about who I was and what I could do. And his hand, he's glowing a little bit, but he doesn't. I thought he was going to tell her, and he doesn't. But he leaves, and then he flies off, and outside he flies by the Metropolitan Police Department, and there are his three new friends. I like this issue a great deal on a lot of reasons. It's a straightforward superhero story. The art was good. The story was good. It had a nice ending. It had good characters. The cop is funny. It all worked really well as a one-and-done comic, which is great. And so I'm happy about it. I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I remember Strazewski's Len's stuff being very, not Silver Age, but just really strong Bronze Age. I like his Justice Society. So let's go to issue 30. 30. While the wiki changes. It's got a decent Dave cover. It is Starman 30. It's got a January 1991 cover date. The Dutch cover credit is Seduction of Starman Part 1. So, something big's happening. I like that. Executive editor again is Dick Giordano. cover artist Dave Hoover, as I said. Writer Len Strazewski. Dave Hoover is back. John Nyberg is inking this time. Tom McCraw is the colorist. Letterer is Bob Pinney. Again, editor is Katie Mann. In this issue, is called The Seduction of Starman, Chapter 1, Paved with Good and One, Paved with... my tongue is tied. The Seduction of Starman, Chapter 1, Paved with Good Intentions. Starman's in it. Marie, his mom's in it. She looks totally different. I hate it. Carol Simmons is there. We get to see... some new characters, Reginald Hart and Alicia Davin, who are the antagonists. So, what does that tell me? And we meet some characters, Mr. Rusted, Tommy Arroyo, Mrs. Arroyo, and Arnold, the limo driver. And it's set in this new housing development. Again, there is no synopsis. I will kind of go through this. Starman is flying to this new subdivision that has leased houses. It says it's really far from the phone limits, and he meets a little boy who's standing on a box, jumping off, and he's wearing a Superman cape. Will is back in his civil identity. He's asking for directions to the manager's house or office, and he asks the kid, "Oh, so Superman's your favorite?" Thanks for the directions, basically. Thanks. So is Superman your favorite character? I guess so. I like Batman too, because he gets to stay out late. And then Will goes, "Well, what about Starman? He lives in Philly." "Yeah, but he doesn't wear a cape, and capes are cool." "Oh, okay. I guess you've got a point. Thanks for your direction." He goes and he finds this trailer, and it's nasty, and there's this bald white guy smoking a cigar, looking like a jackass, and he's the stereotypical landlord. So he says there's nothing there, and he gives... Will says, "Just keep looking. I'll take the other kid. Give me a tour." And he's walking around, and because the kids come to report there's a strange smell of something. And Will, his powers don't help him smell. So the kid goes with him to give him a tour and to show him where the stuff is. Rumstead is, he's just doing this to make a living. He doesn't care. He even says, "Hey, but what a great job," or he thinks, "What a great job. They don't build no more houses. I don't have to show anyone around. If I get complaints, all I have to do is ignore them till they stop." And he stops by Mr. Arroyo's. They talk about the smell. He doesn't see it. And while we see that the little boy is on top of a drainage pipe in this ditch where all the rainwater or sewage is going through, and drops a light in it, and it explodes, and the whole area is on fire. Starman flies back down. And the manager is on fire. Starman puts him out. He flies. He finds Mrs. Arroyo. They can't find the boy. She tells him he's by the fire. He tries to put out the fires by knocking down houses, and he pops open the fire hydrant. He finds some of the equipment and the drain, and he screams no, and then all he has is the tattered kid's cape, so we assume he's dead. And Wikipedia says he's dead, his only appearance. And, Starman's asking, "What took you so long?" "We got here as fast as we could, Starman." And the moms have just taken off by me. And the cop and the fireman says him, "This place has been a fire's trap since they started building it. They should have never let people move in until they had full facilities." Starman asks him what he's talking about. "Well, it doesn't sound like I'm talking about the whole area. It should never happen. Look, 2 fire hydrants for a whole subdivision. The wood's as brittle as balsa wood, and it's not flame retardant. And then this big limo in it, and this guy comes out, and he even apologizes. He walks out the door. He goes, "Exactly right, Starman. It's my fault. I take full responsibility. These poor people have paid for my mistakes." And then Starman picks him up. "You did this? Who the hell are you?" And then you find out he's Reginald Hart. The bodyguard goes to... Starman lifts him off the ground, and the bodyguard comes up, and he just gets slapped. Hart goes, no, hold on, don't worry about it. He says he's really sorry. He says that it's all his fault, and then he says, "I would never have listened to them, but they had nowhere else to go." no housing they could afford. Like, he makes it sound like he was doing them a favor for renting them a death trap. And then Starman goes, "You mean?" He goes, "Yes. They begged me, and I should have made them wait a few more months, but I couldn't turn a deaf ear to their plight. After all, that's what Hartsfield's Estates was all about: low-cost housing for those in need, subsidized mortgage, reduced rent. That was my dream for this, and now there's nothing left, but I'll build it again. I will." And he starts talking to Superman in a Starman, and he says, "Hey, come to my office at Hart Plaza. We'll talk. We have a lot in common." He flies there. He's introduced to the head of Charitable Trust, Alicia de Haven, and she said, "Starman, we should talk." Hart takes Starman to dinner. There's a bank robbery, an old-fashioned one. Guys with machine guns with big bags with the dollar sign on it. Starman stops him quickly and flies by, and Hart goes, "This guy's a natural. I could turn him into a telethon." And then we see Will talking with his mom about what's been going on and about how he may work with the foundation. He's thinking about it. I don't like the way Hoover's drawn Marie. She looks nothing like Marie. She looks not old enough to be his mom. She just I don't like that redesign. We get to see Carol, and Will's talking about, I may have made a connection. And he's like, "Yeah." She goes, "Do I? I'd give my teeth to make a presentation to him," talking about Hart. "Why? Do you have a contact in his operation?" "Yeah, I think I do." And he has Alicia de Haven's card. Overall, this was a pretty good comic. It's a straightforward DC moral play one. You see the bad guys. I mean, it's the first part of a story. So I'm assuming Hart and DeHaven are the bad guys, and something horrible is going to come. But it's a sweet little soft. I was surprised the kid was dead, because that is very not comic Cody. But you don't see the body; you just see the tattered cape. It's all right. It's nothing crazy. It makes perfect sense. But it's okay. It was a little basic. I don't know. I think I need to see where Len's going to go. I mean, I have to be fair. I have not read any of this. What I've read of his stuff I like. I'm going to look up his Phantom Lady, see if it's on the app, to give it a try. So that was good. I want to talk something a little more about just tidy up a little bit about Roger Stern. I was going to do a whole episode about him, but I don't want to do that. I just want to say the first 28 issues were amazing. Were they the greatest comic book ever written? No. Are they better than a lot of the greats? No. But to me, they were. I like the character. I like the soap opera parts that you need in a good thing with character development. I liked every part, all those parts of it. And it got better and better and better as it went along. Now I got to see what this creative team's going to do with the character. And sometimes, you'll have one creative team you really like, the next one you really don't like, and the next one after that you love. I've been reading comics for 50 years. More than that, 55 years. And I know that eras are eras. Hey, I just watched 2 new Doctor Who's, the first season of of RTD2, and with Hughie Gatwa and Millie Gibson. And it is very different than any Doctor I've ever watched. And I'm early in. So listen to this week's Godfrey's Most Wanted, which will drop the day after you hear this, because I'm going to put this up later tonight. But really, Roger's a really important comic writer to me. His Avengers run is definitely in my top 2. Sometimes it's my top 1. His Superman work I find amazing. Anytime he has he's written a comic, I've enjoyed it. So I will miss him. And I think his Starman should be talked about as some of his better work. So, but I'm looking forward. I'm hoping that this next team can earn the affection I have for Roger and his Starman work. All right, folks. Thanks for listening. I know episodes are spotty, and I'm using some of the sidebars as the main episode on weekends. Just work is really stressful. Life is really stressful. So I'm really only doing like 1 or 2 episodes a week if I can. But I did want to not have this big a pause on Starman. I may drop another Stop Let's Team Up the day right after this. Maybe episode 100 because there was a lot. Jimbo, and Kirby got together and talked the different eras of Legion, and it was a very long conversation, so I may break it up into a couple episodes. All right. So, folks, next issue we're going to be covering is 29 of Starman Volume 2, The Return of Bobo. And then I'm hoping we're going to do this new thing, Opal City Opal City Media Club, where we're going to talk about Starman tangent stuff. And I've been talking about movies. So Kirby's agreed to watch the John Carpenter Starman. He should thank me, and he will thank me, I know. One of my favorite Carpenter movies, and I love Jeff Bridges. And we're going to talk about that. And then I'm also going to talk about the 1950s, 1960s Japanese science fiction superhero comic movies featuring a main character called Starman. They are dated and old and silly and campy and entertaining because they are so of all of those things. So if you have any other Starman, a follower of the podcast on Twitter, Steve E. Shend, he had a suggestion. He's the one that suggested changing the name to Opal City Media Club. Love it. But he had another great suggestion. I could talk about anything and everything Jack mentions, his collector things, it gives me a reason to talk about the books and music and movies, etc. I think that's a great idea. I think it's a really great idea, and I'm going to be paying attention and making a list and checking it twice. I'm excited about it. It's great. And since Jake Bendetti is next and he's going to talk about his favorite movies, that character, I'm excited. So that's coming up. All right, folks, again, thank you for listening. Please listen to this. All its different iterations, Opal City, the Daring Defenders, 4 for 4, My Legion Adventure, and the regular Stop Let's Team Up episodes. Also check out Gallifrey's Most Wanted. I'd really like give it a chance. Go back, listen to the early ones. My original partner Victoria, and just kind of go through. I've been doing it since for almost 7 years. Coming up January. No, wait a minute. January will be the beginning of the 8th year. I'd like to have you jump in and take a listen. So, folks, again, be smart, be safe. Please be kind to one another. It's really a crazy, messed up world. And read some comics. Read some comics by the amazing Len Strazewski. Okay?